Hey everyone, welcome back to Zero Sum Game. I'm one of the co-hosts, Sohan, and this is my co-host and also boss, Bora, as he loves me saying. For those of you who aren't familiar, Zero Sum Game is a podcast where we interview social commerce execs, founders, anyone in e-commerce really who has a passion for social commerce and business, and we ask them the most burning questions about TikTok Shop and growth today. And we are co-hosts, or we are from Reacher. For those who aren't familiar with Reacher, we're an end-to-end creator matchmaking software that helps you find creators, nurture the relationships, and gamify, enabling over $500 million in revenue driven on TikTok Shop from big brands like Goalie, Triketra Health, Prime Bites, Easy Bombs, and agencies like Social Commerce Club and Flywheel Digital, who's owned by Omnicom. Today, I have Bora on here. So I actually haven't interviewed Bora one-to-one. I think we've talked a lot about your views on business. We've had steak dinners, poker, hikes with meta glasses on, where we've talked about a lot of this, but we really haven't sat down in a studio and gotten down in the weeds of like who you are and where you see Reacher going. I think for anyone who hasn't heard of you, do you mind giving just a brief, like short background on who you are and what you're building here?
Yeah, so thank you for the great intro, Sohan. My name is Bora. I'm one of the co-founders of Reacher along with Jerry. This is our third company. I guess you could call me a serial entrepreneur of sorts, although I've never actually successfully exited a company before.
Yet. Soon to be. Well, maybe soon. But anyways,
I've done a lot of things in my life that I just realized actually talking today in the studio earlier with Sohan and Jerry. I've been a salesman of sorts since I was like in fourth grade, just selling random things. I am a software engineer by practice. That's kind of a result of me being from the Bay Area in California, a lot Silicon Valley, a lot of engineering and software engineering out here. Child of immigrant parents that also generally pushes you towards lawyer, doctor, or engineer.
Yep.
So I have a technical background. I worked in corporate at Palo Alto Networks as a cybersecurity demo engineer for, I believe, 4 years before getting into startups. Well, actually, while I was at Palo Alto Networks, I was moonlighting for a couple of the startups that failed, which moonlighting is basically you do 9 to 5, and then from 5 to 11 or 12 midnight, you work more on the startup, right? So, I've been into startups for a bit and got into Reacher with Jerry, which is a TikTok shop, creator collaboration, AI software, essentially, that Sohan mentioned, which is our latest venture together, and it's so far going well.
And what do you focus on at Reacher specifically?
Jerry and I both started off kind of like building the product. He focused a lot on writing the initial Python scripts to actually send messages to creators to get them to create content for these brands and post on TikTok Shop, where I focused on, I don't want to get too technical, but essentially like the cloud architecture side of the software, essentially, right? And then I also was doing the go-to-market, like finding people to sell to, really figuring out who is our customer, who is the ICP that we're trying to sell to, and then what do they actually need us to make to help them, right? So I guess you could say like go-to-market side of things.
Yeah, ICP being ideal customer profile. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think most people don't realize, but Reacher actually has never had a sales team. The sales team and marketing team is pretty much Bora. You brought the company to 7-figure ARR on your own. Through that, a lot of willpower, DMing people, finding very crafty and clever ways to get people to switch over. And I, having worked against you at the competitor, have felt the wrath of Bora and, had to fight against you like one-on-one. I think, very formidable opponent now who has subjugated me and I work for him now. Doing the job very well. I think, I want to just dive straight in to like how we're going to get Reacher to $10 million and what you see the different jobs to be done are. I think previously coming into Reacher, right, I started in a, consulting, maybe helping you guys navigate different ways to improve your go-to-market. Now we're talking about customer success. Now we're talking about marketing. We've gone and hired some people. We're probably going through some hires, in and out, and then figuring out different roles to hire. Where do you see Reacher's current, growth arm of the business at currently? Or where do you see us being in the next 2 years? And what do you think we need to do to get there?
Growth arm of the business currently.
Yeah.
To your point, there hasn't really been much of a growth team up until you joined, and we now have a couple of customer support reps and a CSM that help with like guiding the customers on how to use Reacher. I think the team still needs to be built. We still need to, well, first of all, SOPs, which is your favorite word, standard operating procedure, right? Which are basically like documents of how to do certain things, right? Those need to be built out. I to your point, since I was doing essentially all the selling, all the customer support, all the customer success up until very recently, I didn't have time to build SOPs. I was just in the trenches doing the work day after day, trying to outsell you essentially at a competitor, right? So that being said, we brought in great talent, a couple of customer support reps, a CSM who previously was managing a suite of brands doing 3 million, I believe, GMV cumulatively on TikTok Shop, right? So great TikTok Shop expertise there. You yourself, you were working at an agency and then our direct competitor and then a brand afterwards. So you have a plethora of TikTok Shop experience yourself as well as just general marketing and sales experience, right? So bringing in this real A talent and continuously doing that is the plan to grow in the next 2 years. I think obviously like we need a head of customer success. We need an AE, an account executive to sell for us or to take inbound calls. I think getting very specific with the plan to go to 10 million ARR, I think we've talked about this many times. It's going to be it's going to be various strategies, but really just being very loud and being that voice of truth that people trying to get into TikTok Shop believe, right? It's like, oh, these guys are the guys that know the strategy. These guys are the TikTok Shop experts, right?
Yep. So branding yourself as an authority. And then I think you're saying finding the right talent. I guess like, what is like, why this might be an obvious question. Like, why do you need to find talent to get to $10 million? Why can't you just keep doing what's worked to get you to $2 million from $1 million?
I think that actually, I don't know any companies that have done that before. I think the general way that companies grow is the founders start off kind of being the jack of all trades, doing all the jobs, right? But at some point, there is always someone out there that's better than you at XYZ job, at sales, at marketing, at customer support, right? And the way to scale, even in the age of AI, is still with humans, with other humans, right? That are better than you at certain jobs, right? So in order for us, like you can get to like probably a couple $1 million in ARR with just our current setup, right? Maybe a few $1 million in ARR with our current setup. But in order to really scale past that, you need to be able to delegate what you are doing to someone or a group of people that are 10 times better than you are, because they can do what you're doing way better than you can, which already tells you that they're going to scale. Like let's say I did like $1 million, right? Probably if I hire someone that's like 10 times better than me, they can do 10 million themselves, just like me scaling off to them. And I can focus on other parts of the business that need tweaking, that need attention, and then finding people to fill that gap. And then continuously, I think that's like the generally job of founders. It's just like, go find places in the business that need to be tweaked, find someone that's really, really good at that, and then fill the gap and move on.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of traditional dogmas where it's like you need to assemble these specific talents, like A+ talent in these buckets to grow. But I think there's a lot of different ways to get to $10 million. And I think there's also in Silicon Valley and in SF startups, there's also companies who get there with product-led growth and don't even have a sales team. Do you feel like having a sales team or spending all this money on marketing and growth is even important? Have you guys considered a product-led growth route before?
Yeah, we have. And I think we still are actually considering product-led growth. The problem I see with this specific industry and product-led growth is the fact that, and maybe it could be our fault. It could be like the product's UX is not clean enough, or it's not obvious how to use the product, or there's not enough customer education out there. But I think for product-led growth, you need a product that people purchase and then actually use themselves with minimal input from you, right? A minimal like reason. You don't have to show them what the product does and things like that. Like it should be very obvious to them, but then they actually have to use the product to do whatever job the product's supposed to help them do, right? Now, what I've seen, and again, I don't know if this is like our fault or just the way the industry works, the people that are using the product, a lot of people will purchase a product, and if we don't provide them a lot of guidance in terms of like during the sales cycle, showing them why they should purchase a product, like what gaps this product fills, and then on the customer success standpoint, continuously saying, hey guys, like you're not using the product correctly. Let's show you how to optimize X, Y, and Z workflows with the product you purchased, right? If we don't do that, then people don't use the product properly or even at all, and then they churn, right? So because of that, and that is the truth of our current situation, right? Which is why I believe in hiring customer success, hiring account executives to do these things that I said that don't get done if we don't have those people.
So for the people who aren't familiar, product-led growth is essentially a business strategy where the product is so intuitive and great to use that it just sells itself. And people will sign up for a free trial very quickly and experience what's called time to value, where they essentially experience that magic aha moment where they get some sort of value from your product, and that makes them a sticky user, meaning they want to stick around and use your product. And then the software as a service companies, SaaS companies, generate recurring revenue after experiencing that motion, right? And so what I'm hearing you say is that product-led growth in our specific industry, where people don't understand how to actually generate money on TikTok Shop, there isn't enough historical data to paint a proper path in the user experience or the onboarding flow for the product doesn't exist. That isn't possible. So we need to utilize experts to help fill that gap. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Essentially, yes. I don't think people know what they have to do to grow on TikTok Shop, as in sellers and brands. I don't think they know what they need to do to grow on TikTok Shop. What they think they need to do is just message as many creators as possible. And that was the strategy from about 2 years ago now, right? Which we know no longer works, right? Like at scale, at a large scale, it doesn't work. But what I see people doing, like you could say we do have product-led growth because people do purchase the product and they do use it themselves, right? But the way they use it is incorrect. What they do is a brand with zero sales and zero brand awareness outside of TikTok Shop will come onto the platform. They will say, oh, okay, all I have to do is reach 1,000 creators and send them 100 products, and then I will make money, right? That's what they think. They will come and they'll say, oh, in order to do that at scale, I will use Reacher to do that. They purchase Reacher. They set some like really random criteria of creators to reach out to. They'll send the messages, and then nothing will happen. Why? Because they have no brand awareness. No creator wants to work with a brand that's just giving them 15% commission when other brands are giving them way more commission and have proven sales, right? And then they just assume that the product doesn't work, even though it's just a strategy that they're trying to implement is the incorrect strategy.
So it sounds like the people onboarding are making a lot of mistakes as they're getting in, and there's a lot of like hidden room for failure that people don't know about. Why doesn't Reacher just simplify its product into 2 buttons? One button that says, we will message creators in the most optimal way possible for you. You click this button, and then another button that just says, we will reach out to all your best creators and invite them to post for you again. Why can't a company just create a product like that and create a product-led growth motion to then just make that their TikTok Shop motion?
Yeah, I think that is the ideal end state of the product. That is like when we talk about AI agentic workflows and turning Reacher into like a suite of AI agents that can do all this stuff for you. That is actually what it would be. It would be, we know what's best for your brand and your products in terms of messaging and creators to reach out to. All you have to do is like purchase Reacher, click the button, and then boom, it does it for you. But you and I both know, and everybody knows, that the AI capabilities are either not there yet or we just haven't built it yet. But we are working towards that. I think until that is possible, because what you're talking about is, sure, we could have a button that just implements the strategy with like a basic message that probably works more than what other people are doing themselves. But if we really want to get granular with it and very specific, we would need AI agentic workflows to probably pull the products and pull their marketing content from like the web, right? And try to come up with like very specific categorizations and personalized messaging to certain creators, right? I think in order to do that, that requires a level of AI that we don't currently have, or human labor, essentially. Humans to go do that and say, okay, like let's use this like AI tool to, in conjunction with our knowledge, to perform XYZ marketing functions. And I think that's kind of where we're at today, which is why I don't fully believe that we can do a product-led growth function at this exact time.
Why not just focus on more mature and mid-market customer segments who already have TikTok Shop knowledge? Why build this product that is trying to cater to everyone and involve more humans in every step of the product onboarding, customer retention, and sales?
Well, I think it's actually a good idea to focus on the more mature mid-market / enterprise brands on TikTok Shop. Let's say like mid-market is like 50K plus and enterprise is like
50K plus in TikTok Shop
TikTok
revenue.
Shop GMV specifically.
Yeah.
Not over e-commerce.
50K plus per month.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Last 30-day GMV. So I think it's a good strategy to focus on them because it's proven since they are generating GMV that they're doing something that's working. They likely have more money to spend, and there's always more work that can be done to improve those numbers that they currently have and optimize the process. I think though, so you're saying like from a product-led growth standpoint to focus on those?
From a company standpoint, as a founder, these people have already achieved a certain level of success on TikTok Shop, so they wouldn't need that onboarding and guidance from an AE or CSM, right? Like, wouldn't they just be able to kind of learn the product on their own and grow and take it to the next level?
Our product specifically?
Yeah.
I don't have confidence in that because, again, these brands that are that successful, a majority of them, as you and I both know, are still, there isn't that much TikTok Shop talent out there, right? Like the talent that is in these companies is still usually pretty junior. The ones that are actually getting their hands on the product is still usually pretty junior, or it's overseas talent that still needs to be handheld, right? Like, I think looking at what is actually existing in the market today, unless our product is like stupid, super simple, easy to use, I think we will still have like a human in the loop type of interaction with these customers. From a customer success standpoint, maybe it's not as hands-on as like, oh, let's get on a call and like we have to set this up for you. Maybe it's more like consultative, like once a month, like 30 minutes,
Totally. Because
like that.
I think there are like marketing directors who use the product who probably have that high degree of knowledge, right? It's not all junior talent, right?
It's not all, but I would argue that I think, and we can look into the data. I think the level of senior marketing talent or like directors of marketing that are actually hands-on with Reacher at these brands that are using us is pretty low from what I've seen.
So I guess you're a co-founder of a software company, and what I'm hearing you say is that all these senior marketing directors and VPs don't know what the hell they're doing on TikTok Shop. Why should they like listen to you when it comes on how to use Reacher to scale on marketing advice and e-commerce advice?
I wouldn't go so far as to say they don't know what the hell they're doing on TikTok Shop.
Sure.
I think a lot of people in TikTok Shop today have kind of just been thrown into it, especially at these bigger companies. Like they're just like, hey, like I see this all the time. It's happened to you. Like, oh, you seem to be doing something with like UGC or like influencers. I think you should do TikTok Shop, and they have no TikTok Shop background. It's not their fault. And I would say that like a majority of these directors and senior marketing people at these brands do actually understand what needs to be done. But then when it comes down to the talent below them that's actually executing on the strategy, I think that's where there's maybe like a gap in terms of strategy implementation or like the nuance of the strategy. I think that's where the gap is. In terms of like, why do I think I know more than them in terms of TikTok Shop strategy? If I speak modestly, I think I don't think I know that us as Reacher as a company, we have access to a lot of data on the back end, right? Like all the affiliate programs of these massive brands that like we've driven $500 billion, north of $500 billion in revenue. We have access to a lot of data that we are consistently analyzing, and in partnership with the TikTok Shop team as well, to see like what actually works in terms of content going viral, in terms of dependable TikTok Shop strategies that are not just like one hit wonders, right? You go viral once for 1 month and then you're good. I mean, you're not good. And then you like lose all the revenue in the next few months. What we have seen is like there's a subset of brands that are consistently ranking amongst the top 50 or 100 TikTok shop brands month over month, in terms of last 30-day revenue. And each brand is kind of like doing their own thing, but there are huge overlaps in terms of the strategy of what they're doing to stay on the leaderboards of TikTok shop month over month, right? I don't think anybody else at these brands has access to that kind of data at scale like we do. So, and the fact that you and I are always talking to marketing leaders and leaders in the TikTok shop space, and we're getting these insights from them directly, I think we have a plethora of knowledge that not many people have access to in this industry.
So what I'm hearing you say is essentially, as co-founder of Reacher, as someone who can see all the data on the back end, you're able to do a lot of pattern recognition and association between the strategies for the top % of TikTok shop sellers and understand where people are missing in their TikTok shop strategy and where they should be.
Yeah, that's one aspect missing. So like we can audit them and say like, hey, here's what everybody else is doing that you're not doing, right? That's where the missing part comes in. I think also the on the flip side, it's also just like there's a lot of correlations. So I can't say, because I have not run a brand myself, I cannot concretely say, and I don't think I am in the position to say like, this is what you have to do and you will get this result from doing this. I think we see a lot of correlations in the data that, volume of content, volume of quality content, like the more videos you get posted per month will likely increase your GMV, right? There's a huge correlation, like one-to-one correlation on that statement I just made that we see. Although I cannot say for sure, if you get 50,000 videos posted, you will get $5 million in GMV, right, per month. This is just like the data we see in the back end. All I can say is like, here are the correlations, and you can kind of make do with that data what you will. I will say though, I think we are becoming more consultative. Like we are helping brands use our software more to implement some of the strategies that we're recommending. So we will actually have more causal data soon to say like, oh, this isn't just a correlation. Like we've done X, Y, and Z with these brands in partnership, and here's what happened, right?
Sure. But also as founder of Reacher, who's hired people who've been on the agency and brand side, you technically do have cumulative alpha that you've built up to then advise your clients on, along with the data you're seeing on the back end as well. I think, one thing I'm curious about is, as I joined Reacher, right, we started delegating essentially scope of the company, right? Where like I'm sort of leading sales and marketing and things like that. Of course, we're still co-hosting podcasts, evangelizing together, but you've transitioned to really be the voice of the customer and make sure that everyone's having a great experience. And that means you're diving into these TikTok shop nuances, edge cases, looking at the data. When you're training a team of CSMs and building out the CS department to cater to these brands who need your help on how to get to that next stage in TikTok shop, what are the kinds of things you're thinking about and how are you approaching these conversations to help them grow on Reacher?
So you're talking about how do we help the brands, like approach the conversations with the brands to help them grow on Reacher, right?
Yeah. How do you help the brands that sign up for Reacher grow on TikTok shop? What are you thinking about? How do you train other people to then do that?
We look at the data on the back end because we have access to like how many affiliates they're working with, how many videos they're getting posted month over month, what's their GMV, how many messages or target collaborations are they sending out, right? We have access to all that data. So we have a dashboard that we can see like, oh, these brands have not sent any messages or have no videos posted this month. That's not a good sign. They're using Reacher. So there's obviously a mismatch there. That's like super obvious. Let's go in and let's like just say, hey, let's set these things up and let's get your like outreach going and get some videos posted, start building up that creator community. Right. That's one way. Looking at the data and just like having very clear metrics to go after. Like if there's like certain bar not met, then we should go, talk to them. Like there's an alert, right? Or a trigger.
I also want to talk about your audit process. I think one thing that, it's kind of like unorthodox, but really clever that you've been doing at Reacher is you audit other software that people are using. You audit their current affiliate acquisition flows. You audit Discords sometimes. Like it seems like you're actually involved in what it is like to be a day-to-day brand manager and providing a lot of value like upfront and taking that into account in the onboarding and retention process, right? Can you walk me through a little bit more? Like, what are the things you're looking at when you're auditing some of these customer accounts and how you're using that and blending that into like the Reacher workflows you help automate?
Yeah, I mean, audits are a great way to gain someone's trust because you're providing value for free. And there's like 99% of the time, even if they're using a competing software, there's so much that's not being utilized, right? Software or not. So essentially what I do with the audit, I'll just give it a quick rundown. I'll log into their affiliate center, and then I'll also log into the software dashboard of whatever competitor they're using, right? So I'll look at a few key metrics. So one is like, do you even have any target collaborations or messaging going out in general, right? That's the first thing. If they don't have any right there, that's like, okay.
Yeah. Are you active?
Yeah, are you even on TikTok Shop, you know?
Yeah.
Then I'll look at like their sample requests and I'll say, okay, how many sample requests are they getting, right? I think it's per month by default. Per month, how many sample requests are they getting? And then out of those sample requests, how many are being approved and how long does it take to approve them, essentially? And then during the approval process, are you sending them content briefs? Are you sending them example video, the creators? Are you sending the creators example videos? Are you sending them product briefs to help them with making better content? During the process of the collaboration, are you sending them reminders to post? After they've posted and generated GMV, are you inviting them to work with you again? Are you re-engaging them? Are you getting them to post multiple videos per product? Are you inviting them to your creator community? All that stuff I look at. If they're not doing it, then I'll say, okay, like, why aren't you doing this? Is the software set up properly? You should be doing this. I'll look at their messages. A majority of the time, like most brands have like thousands of unread messages from creators. And yes, 90% of that is probably spam that you don't care to respond to, but there's always messages in there from like super high GMV creators that are like, oh, my package arrived, but like the label was broken and like I want another package, right? Like
So you're in the affiliate center as well.
This is in the affiliate center in their messages. Like
Got it.
I'll go and I'll try to find these like top affiliates that they're maybe working with and see their messages. Then I take all this data back and I'll present it to them and I'll say, hey, here's all the stuff that you're missing. Here's like, if you implement this properly, the percentage of GMV you could potentially increase, right? Based off like the benchmarks of the other brands we're working with that are all doing this properly. Here's like a recommendation for you on like the messaging and like the automations you could set up. We can do this all for you with Reacher, right? And then usually they're just like, they're baffled. They're like, this is great. Let's do it now.
Interesting. I can imagine like as a brand, it's like it's probably a little like disorienting or surreal to have like the founder of a software company go in and like look at their affiliate messages. Why do you feel the need to go so deep on these audits and uncover the most granular of granular insights to customer experience on shipping and handling of packages?
Customer obsession, I suppose. That is a result of my competitiveness, because especially like if it's, I'm very competitive, as you know. Jerry and I are both very competitive. And if me doing all of that granular work means that my competitor will lose money and we will gain money from them, from their pocket, I will do it. And if I can't do it, then I want to train someone to have that same passion and that same competitive instinct that I do. And this is like what they say in Y Combinator. You're kind of like building this like really strong, almost even like a cult, like of like a group of people at your company, because you're all on the same side. And everybody that's not on your side is kind of like the opposition. Of course, like just your competition. Not everybody is in opposition, right?
Zero-sum game.
Name of the podcast. Zero-sum game. Name of the podcast. So
that's where it comes from.
That is where it comes from. But that's like, yeah, that customer obsession, I guess, to make sure that we are providing the best value to the customer. Because also, I just believe in helping people and providing people value. Like I've had a background in education. Like when I was in college, I actually was a teacher of Python and other courses to like students. And like, I just personally feel some sort of good feeling once I've helped somebody solve a problem or like make money and make a difference in the world, in that regard, at least.
Interesting. I feel like the farther the core activities go away from the founder, the more diluted the delivery of the service becomes. I think when you're thinking about things like diving into affiliate messages, getting into Discord, looking at the KPIs and benchmarking success across a larger data set for an audit, I feel like it's a very lengthy and thorough process. And then it's fueled by just taking down your competition. I find it very hard to believe that a CSM will come in and replicate that same ability and dedication and care for the customer that you have. Like, is there anything you're doing to make sure that people are as fired up as you are, or as you're sort of delegating and building out the CS side of the org, you're keeping that level of quality up?
It's a good question. I think this is something that most companies face as they scale. I think many companies have actually done this properly, scaled while keeping that kind of like intense fire within everybody at the company. I think Airbnb is a good example. Amazon's a good example. There's a lot of good examples out there, but for me, it's kind of a play on micromanagement, but not micromanagement. It's more so being in the weeds with everybody and seeing how they do it, and just consistently building that muscle and doing it with them until like once you leave that room, they also do it the same way you would have done it if you were in that room, or if you were in the room with them.
Does that get them to care? Does that get them to care about what they're doing?
No, to get them to care, that's a couple of things. It's a good question. One is just if they're interested in the company or the industry, right? Or like the TikTok shop, for example, right? Or AI. I think what we're doing with marketing is really good. Like, we're having a lot of people coming in and they're just like really want to work. First of all, they already really like TikTok shop, and they really want to work for Reacher specifically for our culture, and like because it's AI or some other reasons, right? So that's one really good leading indicator that they would care. But then once they're in, that's like, okay, attracting good talent. Then it's like the retention of the good talent. This is still something that I'm working on. I know we're all working on this together as like, budding leaders and managers, right? I think it's like really understanding what drives each individual as a core human, and then making sure that you are aligning incentives with what drives them. Like for you, for example, we just finished your interview, your podcast, and you just want to be intellectually stimulated and like be able to do things some like autonomously to grow the business, right? Because that's what you like really enjoy doing, right? That's at least what you said. For some other people in our team, it's like they love traveling. Like if we can incentivize them with like travel, or like allow them to travel or work remote, that's like they're so happy, right?
Yeah.
But to understand those things, it's like it's really custom per person, and it takes a lot of work to understand each person that deeply, to understand how to incentivize them properly to keep them motivated.
So I think one thing you're doing really well with one of our, well, I guess Ashley, executive
name
assistant.
drop.
Yeah, Ashley, right? I think you've done like a really good job just understanding her, what motivates her as a person. I think she's even coming to Korea with us to go and do business,
travel,
right?
Yeah.
She's travel, right? So that's a good example of that, right? Are you doing that with like every CSM and support people? And if like a founder, let's say, wants to do that, let's say you're advising a founder on how to do that with their CS team, and they're bringing on a new head of customer success, like what sort of things should they be thinking about in the retention plan, or for building culture with that senior level candidate who really should have that responsibility and fire to lead that part of the organization?
Yeah, I think it's something that we're still working on. I haven't hired a head of CS and instilled that culture within them yet, but we have done that with like a few other members of our team, I would say. I think being in person really makes it a lot easier, because it's just like the intensity and the fire that the founders and the rest of the team has, if they are on that same level, which they should be, it's just like infectious, right? Like very easily you can tell if someone is part of that group's energy or not. And if they're not, then you can probably easily rectify that by talking to them and just like understanding and aligning incentives. And if they're not a good fit, then they're not a good fit. I think being in person and spending a lot of time with them and showing them like the culture through the rest of the group is the best way to get people in tune with the culture as well, I think.
It sounds like a lot of your thesis for retention and culture building is experiencing the energy in person and experiencing the energy from different people. Am I understanding that correctly? Is that the main component of why you feel like people stay? I know you interview me extensively on why I've stayed at other companies, why I've left at other companies, why I joined here. And you guys check in with me and ask me about that a lot. Have you been reflecting about things beyond energy and future decisions you can make to help increase retention of your core employees at Reacher?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, like I say in-person stuff a lot just because like we were in person for Y Combinator and, we do a lot of in-person stuff and it's like, I think very helpful for our relationship and the culture within us, here. But to your point, like many really good companies have been built with a remote culture. And we are still technically remote right now. Ideally, it's in person, but a good culture can still be built and people can still be incentivized remotely as well. In fact, being remote is sometimes an incentive for some people, right? For like really good talent, they're just like, I want to be remote and I don't want to go into the office. Like that's actually a retention method for some people, right? I think, again, it falls back to what does that person want in life? What is their goal? What energizes them and keeps them like motivated and happy on a day-to-day basis with their job? And then making sure that that is the work they're doing, the majority of their job, right? Is that work.
The scope is fulfilling.
Yeah, the scope has to be fulfilling. That's another thing. I don't think I talked about that yet. Like certain people don't like talking to other people that much. Certain people love talking to other people, but they don't like being heads down operationally, like writing SOPs and spreadsheets, right? Like for the people that love talking to other people, we should probably give them a role that helps that like majority of the time they're like talking to other people and being on that type of a strategic mindset versus someone that just like does not like talking to other people. Okay, maybe it's like a back office, like you're doing spreadsheets for like 8 hours a day and then you're done, right? And that's actually what they like. They just want to like lock in 8 hours, done, go about their day, right? I think it comes down to, again, understanding what that person's goal is, what they want as an incentive, and then also what they like doing on a day-to-day basis.
So I agree with everything you're saying. I think being hyper-personalized in a person's strengths and weaknesses and catering a role to something they find fulfilling, like that makes a ton of sense. And then bringing in in-person energy and culture and getting people fired up where they're pressed into other teammates and they're getting other signals that where they're working is a great place. I think that all 100% makes sense. I think when it comes to getting to the next level, like getting to the next level scale, like even Naval says for like the early teams, like, he breaks all the rules where it's like, he breaks the fact that like if they're a mother at an early stage startup, he'll hire them. If they want more equity and want to be on the cap table, he'll break that rule, and other things like that, right? But at a certain stage, right, Reacher's getting to a stage where we're almost going to cross probably 30 employees within like the next month or so, right? Is it feasible to create such a hyper-personalized retention plan for every employee and check in with them? How do you see your retention strategies as a founder in the business evolving as we hit this next level of scale?
I think past 100 employees.
30.
I know, I'm saying I think past 100 employees, that's when it gets like extremely difficult to do that on a very personalized level.
Interesting.
I think it's interesting. Like if we look at other big companies that have like thousands of employees, like tech companies, there's like Google, there's Meta, there's Apple. Like they generally all have very similar offers in terms of like free food, and you get like a book reading credit and like the benefits you get there and like really good healthcare and things like that. They're all kind of like the same. Then at that scale, I think it comes down to really good compensation on top of the benefits they have, and the work that they are doing is actually work that they enjoy and that's fulfilling. I think, of course, we want to, at all times, have people kind of be instilled with the company culture at every level. But to your point, like once you're at a company of like 500 people or 1,000 people, there's no way me as a founder or you are going to go down and like make sure that every single person in every single organization is incentivized properly. That's no way we can do that. I think we have to instill that within the managers and try to make them care to find that information out and like incentivize them properly or like get creative there. But I think the main way we can maintain happiness across the vertical of the company is really hiring properly and obviously giving good compensation, but making sure that the people we're hiring into roles are actually fit for that role and they'll actually enjoy it in the long run and it's fulfilling for them. And I don't know if that's the right answer, by the way. I'm just like, this is the first time someone's asked me that at scale, so I'm just like riffing.
There is no right answer. I think every company is like very opinionated about it, and I think the winners tell the stories on the truths on like what it means to scale and how it is to put the retention plan. So I think, I don't necessarily believe in an objective truth. I was just, curious on your take there. Okay. And I want to talk a little bit more about where you see like Reacher heading in this next stage. I think me and you have gone through some trials and tribulations hiring senior talent. I think even recently going back and forth on people that seem like a really good fit. We do all these rounds of interviews. I know your interviewing process has changed tremendously over the past like 4 to 5 months, right? Who do you think we need to get Reacher to the next level of scale? And what would they ideally look like? Paint me a picture of this ideal candidate. It doesn't have to be
Who do we need
for a specific role, but I would love to understand attributes, character, background, dream candidate.
And not within a specific role, like not customer success or like engineering or product.
You can use one of the roles if you'd like to articulate it.
I think what we need right now is someone that has a really deep obsession for product and how it helps the customer achieve some goal that helps them. Essentially, like TikTok Shop, get more GMV, right? Like someone who really deeply cares about that and the customer experience using the product, right? I think in terms of like marketing and like, of course, we need like an AE, we need a salesperson, but that's kind of just like we need someone to take those calls. In terms of like marketing and go to market, I think you and I can do a lot, given like these like UX, like given the product is like really solid and we know what to build and it's just being built. I think you and I can be unlocked to do a lot of marketing and make a lot of noise and draw a lot of attention and get a lot of inbound leads, right? So I don't actually think we need much more help on the go-to-market side, other than, of course, like a head of CS would be nice just to like offload some of that work for myself. And then I think eventually like a sales manager, so you don't have to be the sales manager essentially, right? Things like that. And maybe marketing as well. But from the product perspective, I think obviously like we always need really, really good engineers. We always need like, I think maybe 1 or 2 really good designers. And then I think, like a proper like full-time product person that's just like obsessed with the customer's experience with the product and the product features that we build and the product roadmap providing value to the customer. And just like, that's like the whole thing they care about. And they're just like, they don't take half-assed shit for like, they just don't take that. Like if it's not built the right way, like they have to be like definitely dialed a certain way in their brain where they're like, no, it has to be done exactly this way. Kind of like with Steve Jobs with like Apple in the early days. I guess Steve Jobs is like a pretty good example because he's like crazy product guy. He wasn't technical at all, but he even cared about within the MacBook, the pieces that no human, like you or me, would never see as users of the computer. He cared about like on the mother drive, like if the lines between the discs were like off by any mark, he's like, I want you to redesign that, make it look better, like make it look nice. But it's something that you and I would never see. But that's how obsessed he was with like the product and the design, right? Which led to Apple being Apple.
So sort of like a product auditor on steroids.
Yeah, like you on like super steroids, and that's all you do all day, every day.
Interesting. So I guess like for startup founders in SF who are trying to get to Reacher's scale and find people like that, how do they go about recruiting talent and poaching people like that? I know you did a great job poaching me, breaking all the rules, and through a couple iterations got there. And now I feel like we're able to find and attract good candidates for head of CS. We're just being a little picky, but like I would say your incentivization and recruitment strategy there is pretty good. I'd love for you to share some tips with other founders who are trying to get to Reacher's level of scale.
Yeah, I think you are a pretty good example, which may not be that relevant to founders. Well, actually, I think it'd be pretty relevant. You're a really good example because 1, you're at a competitor, so you can hit the ground running already. 2, I think like as founders, even with the competitors, employees, we should never be like mean or like dismissive for any reason. Like I think we should always be friendly to as many people as we can. Probably for me, I believe this, other than the founders of the other companies themselves, which some people agree with, some people don't. I don't really care. But I think that way, like, and we're always looking for talent. Like whenever we're out, whenever I'm like scrolling LinkedIn or whatever, I'm like getting sold by somebody. Like if someone's trying to sell me something and booking me on a sales call and like selling me something, if they're really good, I will take note of that and I'll be like, oh, like nice. Like I'm not gonna buy your product, but let's go out for like dinner sometime, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So just always having your eyes open, always looking for A+ talent, even if you're not hiring, because there's always room for A+ talent. I think that can be done in person as well, and you just have to be able to tell who's good at what.
Interesting note about the competitors. So I think when you're poaching talent, like a passive candidate, someone who's just sitting there getting offers, right? That's kind of like a very tough talent to poach because they have leverage from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do a standard interview vetting process because they might not sit through it. And I know you went through experiences where you thought you were bringing on good talent and then they weren't down to interview or do any due diligence. And then you kind of were just like, well, how do I know to like give you all this upside and incentive, right?
Yeah.
For founders that are trying to poach from their competition, there's probably if they're actually good, then other competition is probably trying to poach them at the same time.
Right.
Like even for me, you kind of knew like other talent would be trying to poach me, you know, as soon as I was like leaving or made any noise about it.
Hot
right?
commodity over here.
Yeah. And so it's just like, how would a founder go about, you know, sort of recruiting that person who's getting recruited by other very similar companies at the same time?
Well, I'll tell you what I've heard or what I've been told from people in this exact same situation what you're talking about. Like someone who is at a different company who's being approached by multiple competitors and why they've picked us. Many people that are working at our competitors actually have come to us first because of our marketing and perceived company culture externally, right? Like people like, first of all, we are very loud and we're like top of mind. Like when you're loud and people keep seeing you, you're top of mind no matter what, right? So like when someone's thinking, maybe someone's like unhappy at their current role or they're like had some sort of an issue with their manager or like they're not getting paid properly. And they're like, oh, thinking about leaving. Then, oh, they see Reacher every single day on LinkedIn or they see like people talking about Reacher all the time. That right there is that's already a good way to get into their head. And she'd be like, oh, Reacher is like an option, right? Mm-hmm. Versus like another company that's not posting and that like just cold outbounds to them. And then I think the company culture again, just like, okay, I don't know, like our company culture, I would say is pretty fun. It's kind of a bro-y culture right now. It still is, but it's kind of changing. But I don't know that it should change. I think that's just like, we're a bunch of guys that work a lot. And we're not just guys. We also have other like people on our team.
We have a woman.
Yeah, we have women on our team. But we like to have fun, but we really like to work. And I think, and we were successful. Like we work a lot, but we also drive results and we do really cool things. And we go like, we live in a house together or like we go on like a cabin trip together. You know, we like work with some of the biggest brands that everybody knows, right? Like that you mentioned earlier. We travel to like China and Korea and the UK and present at TikTok Shop. Like objectively, like really cool things that we do. And I think people see that because we post it online and they're like, wow, like I want to go be part of that, you know?
So you're saying company marketing and sort of marketing the culture is a great way to develop awareness and interest in talent that you would then want to poach.
Exactly. Because then you approach them and they're like warm already. Like, oh yeah, I know Reacher. Like now you and I both know, like when I message people, they're like, oh yeah, Reacher, like you guys are doing great things. I'm like, who are you? I don't even know who you are. Like, what do you mean doing great things? What do you know about us? Like,
yeah, like what do you think we're doing that's so great?
Yeah. Like they put a private investigator on me or something. I don't know. But that's like what you see, it works when you're loud and you're just posting all the time and doing cool things. And then those relationships that we build while we're doing those cool things and those people that comment on our posts and people like scroll, it's like social proof, right? It's like, oh shoot, like the head of this company or like the CEO of that company is commenting on Sohan and Bora's and Jerry's posts. Like they must be for real. Let me go check them out, right?
Yep.
So I think that's a big part.
Interesting. Is there anything you're doing when you're actually getting ready to like, you know, put the hammer down and like start the poaching? Like, do you do anything like selecting certain dinner spots? You know, are you like, are you like coming in with like a strategy to like woo this person based on their background? Do you have a plan to like break the rules for compensation for senior talent? Like, what can other founders do tactically after the company marketing has generated this interest to close the deal?
I think it's a lot of asking questions and understanding where that person's head's at, because they might not be ready to make a move. Like some people, like we've experienced this before, for like one reason or the other, they're just like, yeah, I think I'm gonna stay here at this like worst place, right?
Yep.
And there's like nothing you can do about that, right? And I think it's just good to always be talking to them, gauging them. Dinner spot, I don't know dinner spot, like somewhere that's like good, I guess. That's more up your alley, like for a dinner spot. I think for me, something I found that works well is before even like sure, I'm considering I want to work with this person, but before even like offering anything substantial or too rigid, I like to see if they're open for like consulting. This is a little more difficult when it's from a competitor. When it's from a competitor, I think you just have to do like dinners and like hang out with them in person and just try to like be friendly when you see them. Just be nice and try to like learn more about them. Maybe invite them to poker, you know, who knows? But
Gamble.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, and lose on purpose. But I think in terms of, consulting is, I think, a very good way to, first of all, understand if this person really is all that. If they have the knowledge that you're looking for, if they have the working experience you're looking for. And then that also is a time for you to kind of give them a little bit of FOMO, like, oh, like, you know, we're paying you this money and you're helping us with X, Y, and Z. Like, look at all this stuff that we're doing. Like, you just like kind of drop some carrots here and there, you know, a little bit of carrots. And then you can kind of get a better understanding of that person and what they might be open to, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Taking a different, route here. What do you do outside of working at Reacher?
Wow, what a like sharp 90-degree left turn. Oh man, I was just talking to my fiance about this the other day. I was like, I have nothing to say. What do I do outside of Reacher? That's a good question. So obviously I am engaged, so I have a fiance and
Congrats.
we spend time, thank you. We spend time together. Recently, we've just been doing a lot of errands though. Like we just like in the free time, we do a lot of errands. We're trying to change that dynamic so that, I think ideally if she can work remote, because like founding a company is no joke. Like you're just working a lot. You're going to have the same problem when you have your girlfriend, fiance, like the amount you work, there's going to be conversations to be had for sure. And I think every single founder experiences this if they have a relationship or are in a relationship. I think this is just something that everybody deals with. You don't really do much else other than work. And I'm actually like finding as of recently, I'm not even really interested in much other than talking about work or work related topics, like, which is weird. Cause like in my free time, I'm just going to work and I like enjoy working a lot.
Yeah.
If I look outside of that, obviously I hit the gym. I think go to market on our team is like required. You have to hit the gym and like, requirement. You've been hitting the gym, you're getting pretty big. So hitting the gym is, I think, a really good way to kind of take my mind off work and just like decompress. And I honestly feel really good after getting some movement out in the real world. I really enjoy going to Costco and like seeing what's new out there, because that's like kind of the only normal thing I do these days. Like I just go to Costco and I'm like, oh, like there's stuff here that's like, like Legos and whatnot, maybe I'll buy that.
Costco's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I love Costco. And then, other than that, dude, I guess like I try to spend time with my family here and there. I don't really see my friends ever. I don't even know if I have that many friends anymore. And then hiking, I guess, here and there. Hiking, nature. I love nature, but I just don't really go out in nature that often anymore. So it's a pretty like barren answer to your question, but that's the truth.
Do you believe that people have to sacrifice all of these other things to scale a company?
I would like to say no, but I think yes, unfortunately. Like I was listening to a few interviews of a few people like Sam Altman and Brian Chesky and Jared Friedman, Y Combinator and Airbnb. Brian Chesky specifically said in one of his interviews, he's like, I think 40 something years old now. He said he lost all of his friends over 4 to 5 years because all he did was work like 80 to 100 hours a week. And he like really regrets it. And he like Paul Graham regrets like working so much and like not seeing his parents as much. Like all these founders of these like massive companies all regret not spending more time and like failing their relationships and not having any friends. They all regret it, but then they all have like these like billion-dollar companies, right? But then I don't see that same regret from people that don't have billion-dollar companies. So to me, I'm like, okay, so all these billionaires regret all the sacrifices they made in their personal lives to make these billion-dollar companies. But then if it seems like if you don't make those sacrifices, then you don't have a billion-dollar company, and you're just like, I guess you're still like successful. You can have a $50 million company or something, but I feel like if you want to get to that scale, it is actually like a sacrifice that you have to make. And I haven't seen any examples that prove otherwise. Like maybe Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, I don't know. He still has his wife, but I think they're like working together on stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you do have to make that sacrifice, but I'd like to think otherwise.
Why do you think it's important that you have to build $1 billion company?
I don't think I need to build $1 billion company. I think that's kind of ingrained in our brain to build a unicorn or decacorn now that we've been in Y Combinator. And also like once you start this thing that's building a company and being a founder, I think like I understand it's like an addiction. It's like, oh, I need to keep going. I need to keep building. I need to keep like getting more money. The reason why I want to start a company to begin with is probably due to like my upbringing and like, you know, money has been the reason behind a lot of issues in my life. And I've always been around, like I know for a fact, if I had a lot of money, I could solve a lot of issues for other people around me. And like, I hate the fact that I have to like think about stuff before just spending money to do things I want. And I've never really had money like in high school and in elementary school. Like I was like on the government meal plan or whatever. So I get like one plate of food for like 45 cents or something. Mm-hmm. And I still have to ask for 45 cents from people to give it to me. So like, I think that's where this like urge to build a company and be rich comes from. And the fact that I want to help people around me and make a difference in the world probably stems from that. So, but I don't think I need to build $1 billion company for that. I think I can, $100 million or something like that.
Just $100 million. Yeah, not $1 billion. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a good question. I don't have a good answer for it, but it's very thought-provoking.
Interesting. Would you recommend that people start a company? I feel like it's very over-glamorized, and everyone in SF wants to be an entrepreneur and start their own B2B SaaS AI company. You know, me and you have talked about various different company models to scale what you're interested in. And I think I meet, or even my little brother is like, I saw Whisper CEO speak on this thing. Like, I'm coded a website in Lovable. I'm like, why do you even like doing this? Like, what does this like really evoke a deep feeling of passion and fulfillment in your life? Like, why is this like happening with like so many young people to hop on this entrepreneur train in SF?
I think it has to do with like this whole, there's like this, college is not as useful for the amount of money you put into it theory now that a lot of people believe in, where colleges have gotten like extremely expensive, and outside of like a few core industries or fields, like you can learn a lot that you would learn in college just from like AI or from like doing the thing that, you would go to college to learn how to do. Outside of like blue collar work, like electrician or like plumber or, like the torch welder.
Trade schools
or like doctor or lawyer, right? Like outside of those, which a majority of people are not those things, like I think that has led people to, and also like it's now software engineering too. Like you can learn software engineering. You don't even have to learn software engineering. You can just use Cursor and like Claude and just like code up some MVPs. And if you just keep using that and like teaching yourself, you can probably become a pretty dang good engineer to build up some MVPs, right? So I think people are like on that train right now, and they're realizing like, oh, I'd rather just start building a company. Also because of AI, like replacing a lot of jobs, like junior or associate jobs. I think people are like, well, I can't even get a job if I go to college anyways. And I can already learn this stuff without needing to go to college and like go into debt why don't I just do it now? And just try to like start something myself. I think that's a pretty big reason. And of course, like founding a company and stuff is, as you said, over glorified, I would say. So everybody wants to do it, or thinks they want to do it. And then once they get punched in the face, the mind might change potentially.
What should people be aware about when starting a company? You've talked about a lot of things like feeling detached from your community, not as much time to spend with your fiance, not as much passions and interests outside of work, being fundamentally wired to do more work, to get things done, to survive, to scale. I think there's probably a few things that people aren't aware of when it comes to the, trials and tribulations of starting a company. If you were to give advice to, let's say, a 23-year-old or 22-year-old coming out of SF, right, who has done some internships at these AI B2B SaaS startups, what would you tell them to be aware of and look out for?
AI B2B SaaS startups. Speaking of which, what would I tell them? I think so if you're a solo founder, I can't speak that much to being a solo founder. I've heard it's like exceptionally difficult and exceptionally depressing at times because you have no one else to bounce ideas off of and no one else there to support you. You just kind of have to do it yourself. I think it's very easy to get started on a startup and like build out an MVP and whatnot. But where people fail is that there's always some like trials and tribulations that come regardless of how easy it was to make the product. Like, first of all, you have to have product market fit. People actually need to want to buy your thing. So that's like the number one thing you need to find. Then once you have that product market fit, you have to figure out like when I build this product and I start selling it, there is always going to be some random issues that come up over and over again where like I'm going to lose all my customers, or I'm going to get sued, or like it's just going to break, and like I'm going to need to like deal with people later on. I have to like hire people and figure out like if they're good or not, which majority of people are not good, to be honest. And I have to deal with that. And I think that's just like too much pressure for people to deal with for the long run, for the majority of people, that they don't realize that that's like, it's not as easy as just like building a product and selling it. There's a lot of things that come with building a company, like HR and like legal stuff and managing people. And like once that all starts to happen, like your job as a founder changes from building the product and like pushing that vision forward to just like managing a bunch of people and like managing a bunch of like fires happening around the world. Like literally TikTok, for example, our business is solely based on TikTok Shop, and TikTok got banned one day. I think it was like April, or was it March? Do you remember? February?
Yeah.
Earlier this year. And then it was like, okay, like
Yeah.
your business is banned. Like, what do you do, right? So there's a lot of things that happen. And like the number one thing for you to do as a founder to succeed is just like, don't quit. But majority of people will quit because it's like so many dips and like really, really deep dips that people just give up.
I think that's good advice and good note to end it here on. Thank you so much for jumping on and going through this podcast marathon today. I think for people who aren't listening, we've done quite a few sessions, but
how many hours? 6?
Yeah. Something like that.
6 hours of talking.
Of course.
And he talked. Actually, we talked the whole time.
Yeah, you did. We did.
We did.
All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and please subscribe.